and make a show. Here comes.
Okay.
In 3, 2, 1.
How big is the honeycomb?
Honeycomb's big. Yeah.
It's not small.
No.
We'll miss your ugly face around here.
Their milkshakes bring all of the boys to the yard. This is the morning stream.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to TMS. It's the morning stream for Tuesday, July 5th, 2022. I'm Scott Johnson, and that's Brian Ibbett. Hi, Brian.
Hello, it's Revenge of the 5th.
Revenge of the 5th, everybody. Let's do it every month.
Go and put out all the fires and clean up all of the paper wrappers from your illegally bought fireworks that you did until 11 o'clock or 11:30 at night last night.
Yeah. How was your dog?
Neighborhood where people are trying to sleep. She's deaf, so she's fine. This is like last night was silver lining.
Yeah.
Basically, it was like, oh, it sucks having a deaf dog, except last night.
Yeah.
When,
So does anyone need the blanket, the tight blankety thing, whatever it is, the what's it?
Oh yeah, the thunder
called?
shirt or whatever it's called. Yeah,
Thunder jacket, whatever it is.
No, we haven't. Obviously, since she's been deaf, we haven't had to put that on her at all. Thunderstorms come and go, firecrackers come and go, but yeah, no issues.
We had both yesterday, so I was really glad that I have dogs that don't care about thunder or fireworks. They neither are deaf, but they just don't care for some reason, and I can't quite figure it out. I mean, Ripley gets a little skittish.
Consider yourself lucky.
Yeah,
right?
I feel lucky. I do. But skittish. There's a little skittishness with Ripley once it starts. She just is like curious, not really freaked. But Rainer's just like whatever, and tunes it out and lays down and doesn't care. So we got lucky in that regard with those two dogs. But I feel bad for everybody else with dogs who get freaked out. Also, we had really weird wind yesterday, and all I could think about all day was like, oh man, this is just going to blow that stuff and make fires, and we're all screwed. What are we doing? It's a dry summer. This is terrible. And then, I don't know, somehow, miraculously, as if handed down from heaven, the wind subsided while the fireworks went off. So it was okay.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
The thunderstorms you had probably helped with that as well.
It
right?
did, yeah. We got some weird microbursty stuff prior to all this, but the worst part was earlier in the day Kim had this like awesome what do you call it, avocado toast type bar she set up.
I saw the brunch photo. Yeah,
it was crazy. We had all the kids over. It was so good. My gosh, that food was good. Problem was it was blowing so hard outside we couldn't eat outside, which was like the original plan. It was going to be all nice out there and shaded, but it was so windy, it was just blowing everything to pieces, so we had to eat inside. But then later in the day, it was fine. So it all worked out.
Well, good.
Yeah, it was okay. It's all right. Now, here's a question.
Yes.
As you guys all know, Brian, like Adele and, Britney Spears before her, he has a residency in Las Vegas.
I do. A residency in Las Vegas, yes.
Yeah. And you were going to go sometime at the end of the month, but I guess you had to change it. I'm really curious how this all went.
Still going at the end of this month, just even more closer to the end of this month. So it was going to be on the 17th, 18th, and I moved it to 10 days later, the 27th and 28th, because my buddy Chris Brown, not that one, emailed or called me and said, hey, I've got to fly to California and pick up a car for my daughter and then drive it back to Colorado. Do you want to come with me?
Oh.
And I thought about it for a second. I said, no.
Yeah, that's what I would have said.
And not because I don't think it would be a blast to do that, but because, I've already got some, some trips coming up in this month and in September, and I need the time here. But I said, what are the dates you're doing it? Because I'm actually going to be in Vegas. You're definitely going to be coming through Vegas. You'll want a place to stay.
Sure.
Maybe it all times out. And he says, oh, it's going to be at the very end of the month. I said, all right, well, let me see what I can do. Let me work some magic. So got on with Southwest. Got my flight changed. It was actually $11 cheaper to move it to the middle of the week.
That never happens. That's fantastic. That's great.
Yeah, it was going to be a Sunday night and a Monday, or basically I was going to get there Sunday morning, have all day there, then spend the night, then have most of the day Monday, fly home Monday night. Sunday night's not a great day to go to Vegas, right? I mean, the crowds are down, but a lot of things aren't open, right? If you you want to do some cool, like, I don't know, Jules Verne inspired whiskey tasting on a rocking submarine, you can't do it on a Sunday night, but you can do it on a Wednesday, I believe.
Yeah. They like to have at least, Vegas, one day of rest, please. That's what.
Right,
they
exactly.
like.
So Sunday happens to be that. So no problem changing over Southwest. I hop on the M Life website because I was planning on staying at MGM Grand. I get into my reservation. I say, okay, let's change the dates. They say, oh, sorry, you're going to have to call us. A little message pops up on screen. Sorry, you're going to have to call us to get this changed. I'm like, all right, no problem.
Boo.
So I get on the phone with MGM Grand, get somebody very helpful, and he's asking me, all right, what are the new dates? What's your reservation number? Okay, let me plug it in and let's get it changed over. His system was going a little slow though, so in the meantime, he had to make some small talk, or basically say, all right, well, what other things do you plan on doing while you're here in Vegas, right? Kind of like do you want me to set you up with tickets, or you want to buy some tickets for Ka, or get reservations for Craft Steak, or one of the other many restaurants at the MGM Grand? I'm like, I'm just there for the night. I'm probably gonna, go hit up a couple restaurants that I know that are up strip and things like that.
Yeah, it's a quickie.
All right,
sure.
Still waiting for your reservation to come through. So what things do you like about Vegas?
They have to make small talk. That's great.
I start laughing, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I guess you've run out of things for your script there." And I'm laughing. Silence on the other end. Like, he doesn't laugh with me or anything. It's just silence.
Oh, that's the worst.
And he goes, no, I was just curious about what you liked about Las Vegas.
Oh,
okay, your reservation's switched over. All set, mister, but thank you for calling MGM Grand.
Click. Wow.
What things do you like about Vegas? Like, I don't know, the high prices, the old people blowing smoke in my face constantly, the heat.
The heat. The constant need to walk through a bunch of crap.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Every potential super spreader event going through the casinos, all that stuff. I love it. Thank you.
The chud that live under the city. I love that. There's lots of things to love.
Cities in my mouth. Sure. What's not to love about that?
Sure.
But poor guy. I feel bad for him because I was joking, and he really seemed to kind of take it personally.
He wasn't in the mood you were in, and it was just. It just clashed, and that's unfortunate because I think I would have heard you laugh, and I would have gone, yeah, I did kind of run out of stuff anyway. I would have leaned into it, but he's clearly not having that kind of day.
No, clearly there are more things I like about Vegas than he likes about Vegas.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate deal. Well, anyway, but you got it all worked out. You're good. Right?
Got all worked out. Also, since we last spoke, I guess right before our play date on Friday, Tina and I went karting. Yeah. This was a mystery date surprise thing for me. We have an indoor kart track. It used to be an Al Unser Racing, and now it's like Axelrod Racing or something like that. But it's an indoor track with I think up to 8 or 10 go-karts on it. Really windy kind of thing. And I'd never done anything like that before, right? Like, bumper cars, Autopia at Disneyland, kind of, and then, driving a real car. That's been my only real experience of doing anything even remotely close to that. So we get in there, and they're explaining the whole thing to us. They said, all right, well, because of COVID, we don't have the suits anymore. We don't... we don't have the neck brace, or there was some other thing that we weren't going to get because of sanitization and COVID and stuff like that.
Oh, they used to have suits, like a jumpsuit type thing?
A full-on jumpsuit that you would wear, yeah, which is interesting.
Okay.
I don't know why, but we do get a head sock to keep. Like, just basically, it looks like a ninja deal goes on under our helmets.
Nice head sock.
And those don't get reused, so I still have mine upstairs. They're like, oh yeah, we don't want those back, sir. And
it's a good look for you, by the way. I'm just going to go ahead and put it on the record that I think Brian looks cool in a head sock.
Thanks. I'm thinking about using when I lift.
Yeah,
just wearing like a burqa, basically.
There's something about it that's like, I can't put my finger on it. It's because you have no hair bulk, right? So it's just your
right, exactly.
It's the
so
shape
it's still
of your head.
that same, yeah, that same
awesome.
same head shape.
It's the kind of guy, like, you feel like if somebody was robbing your house and they were wearing that, for some reason, Brian seems less intimidating in a head sock than other people.
Yeah, but I'd also be very easy to identify in the lineup. Like, oh, that guy has the same shape as he did when he had the head sock on, so I know it had to be him.
Yeah, and if you squint really hard, he looks like an uncircumcised peen.
Right, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
I get that a lot. So we get up there and basically they try to, if you've got a big group, your group all goes together. But when you're just a couple going in there, they're going to pair you up with some other people, maybe a twosome or threesome or foursome or something like that, so that they can have enough people on the track to keep things moving.
Sure.
Because that place was busy. I mean, it was a constant, on a Thursday night, it was a constant people on the track, people who are not on the track getting in their cars and waiting so that as soon as the last car is in the pit, boom, these guys are going. And it is like bam, bam, bam.
Wow.
Not redundant, ironic to call it a well-oiled machine, or coincidental to call it a well-oiled machine.
Because they're all oiled machines, I would assume.
Exactly.
Things. Yeah.
So we're sitting in the waiting area, and they're getting ready to call our number, and we look over and we see a guy pull. He's not going to use the helmets that they provide. He's got his own helmet. It's got his name on it. He brings it in a cloth bag. He's sitting with some other people who've got their own helmets. I'm like, oh, look at these guys. I'm thinking to myself, I didn't say it out loud, but man, like the ultimate pros.
They're like bowlers, with their own ball. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Sure enough, they call our number. We go out there, and we happen to be going out there with the pros, with Mario Andretti, with Dale Earnhardt Jr., with those are the only ones I can name. Waltrip, Dennis Waltrip. That's a name, right? That's a.
I don't know. You got me. All these F1 people, people love all the F1 guys. No idea who they are. I have no idea.
I mean, I could say Dale Earnhardt Jr. or Dale Earnhardt Sr. I know that gives me two of them, really.
Yeah, one's a ghost, one exists. Yeah.
Yes. Anyway. Dick Trickle. Yeah, of course.
Oh, Dick Trickle. Gosh dang.
That's right. And in the sign up process, you actually get to choose your name. And you kind of get put on the spot. It's like, oh, they didn't tell me I'd have to do this. Of course, it was mystery date, so I had even less time to prepare. So I'm like, Axel rolled, like a play on Axl Rose, the very ham-fisted play on Axl Rose.
I love it.
Tina's like, I don't know what I'm going to put. I said, I want you to be Mad Maxine.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Came out very well.
Yeah.
So we get in our cars, and of course, we're sitting there next to Johnny helmets, and all three of these guys with their pro helmets, and they're telling us like, all right, yeah, you can, here's what all the different flag colors mean. There's like 6 or 7 flag colors that you've got to memorize, of like, oh no, this one means stop, this one means pull over because somebody's faster than you, this one means hazard on the track, this one's like, okay, I know final lap, I know the checkered flag that you're done
I didn't know there were other ones. I know there's one that's like a yellow flag when someone's wrecked and so everyone else has to slow down or something.
That's the hazard. White flag means this is your final lap, so get ready to wrap it up the next time you see me, kind of thing.
Wow, they get hardcore about this.
They do. Red flag means just stop. Just stop. There's a big problem on the course, so just stop.
Yeah, someone barfed or fell out or something. So wait a minute. So let me understand this. Like,
sure.
Are they trying to do like are they being hardcore about it, or because I picture like bumper cars or something, where it's a little silly.
No, you get a what's the color they give you there? They give you a. It's a whole different black flag. Oh yeah, black flag.
Whoa.
They give you a black flag if you do something, if you're like excessively hitting the walls, if you're hitting the other cars too much, like they can tell you're not doing it accidentally, but that you're doing it on purpose.
Damn. That means
maybe
you're
that's
out?
green flag. It's a green flag, you're right. And then they hold up a sign that says what you're doing. You're skidding too much, which is like, I'm surprised they didn't call me on that, because I was trying to do some drifting and I was gunning my gas pedal too soon during the drift, and I was like, fishtailing as I would round corners and stuff.
The Fast and the Brian Tokyo Drift out there.
That's right.
Yeah.
So so we get out there, and obviously these guys are lapping us. I mean, we are basically chum in the water for them to like zip around. We're additional obstacles that have been placed there to give them more of a challenge. I'm kind of chuckling about it. Tina, it is stressing the crap out of Tina having these guys like constantly zipping around her, because they'll flat out cut her off. Well, they'd cut me off a couple times too, but they'll just like, no, I need to be on the far right side going into this turn, or I'm not going to maintain my 39-second lap. So they'll like and cut right around Tina, and I swear to God that she gave the Luigi stare like more than once as these guys were passing by her.
For those unfamiliar with the Luigi stare, go Google it. It's amazing. It's an amazing thing. That's great. So that would stress me out too. I feel like I would be just a little bit having. It's so funny because I can see you going, and I can see Tina being more like me going, God damn it, what the hell's going on here?
The way I look at it, it's like, you know what? They paid the same amount as us. They're entitled to, you know, they shouldn't have to say, oh, okay, you know, this amount that we paid to do this lap, let's we'll just kid gloves it because we've got some newbies on the track. That said, for more of this, I actually blame on the kart company or the venue, because what they should do is say, hey, what's your skill level? How much do you do this? And if they find somebody who says, oh, this will be our first time, then put a little asterisk in our you know, reservation, and pair us up with other people who've never done it before, who are brand new. Don't put the greens in with the black diamonds.
Yeah, you're basically describing like first-person shooters. Don't put the newbies in with the guys who are trying hard. All the tryhards should have their own. You should figure out a way to put them where they're supposed to be. Yeah. I guess that's hard to know, though, right? How do you know? I guess if you see somebody bring their own helmet, it's a sign.
Yeah, I mean, you just ask. You know, basically, when you're calling to make the reservation, say, "All right, what have you done this before? First time? Oh no, I'm a regular here. I've even got my own named helmet." Okay, like, all right, put this guy here.
What's the MOBA term? We need to know what their MR. What is it? There's a thing. There's a term.
EPing?
No, it's not EPing. It's your EPing is what you show after you've won, but it's what am I thinking of here? Oh,
MMR is what Becca Smiles
MMR.
Says.
That's it.
MMR?
That's like that's basically code for, I forget what it actually stands for, but it's basically the computer's determining what your skill level is based on your play that you previously had. Problem isn't with humans, you can't. I mean, you don't know who's in there.
Yeah.
So, is it kart with a K or C? That's the big question. How do they
kart with a K, I believe. Yes.
Oh, okay, they're going full Mario Kart there, are they? I guess they probably all do that.
Kart. Yeah, I think Go-kart was always with a. Well, I know Go-kart I've seen both ways, right? I've seen it mostly with a K though when I think about it.
Yeah. Did it have like so were these gas powered or were they battery?
They were gas powered, and you find out pretty quickly why you wish they had the suits when you wrap up for the day. And you come out of that thing smelling like you just mowed the lawn with a fully exposed John Deere riding mower.
I hate that smell.
You smell like you've been rolling around on the ground at the Conoco, basically.
I don't like that. That's, by the way, that's a funnier joke because it's a Conoco than it would have been any other gas station brand. And I don't even know why. Why is Conoco funnier? That's funnier.
Yeah, Shell, not as funny.
No, any of them. You could have said Exxon. I would have gone, oh, yeah, but Conoco is a great pull. I love that.
Conoco, yeah.
So, well, I'm glad. That sounds like fun. Like, I would do that.
It was a lot of fun. I would do this again in a heartbeat with the one requirement that it's either with tadpoolers or with family members or friends.
Yeah.
I never, it's like if I ever go there again, I just, not because, I feel like I've got more of a chance to beat him. I don't care. I don't care if I beat my lap or do a faster lap. I really just want to get good at making the turns and drifting just the right amount and then going and stuff like that. But it's more like just having a bunch of people that that are like, oh man, Scott just zipped right by me, or I'm coming up on Ice Worm, gonna overtake him. And
oh my gosh, Ice Worm would be a riot on one of those things.
It would be a riot. We saw him this weekend.
Oh, you did?
Denver,
how's he
Denver
doing?
Comic-Con, what it's called, Fan Expo now, or FanX for short, was this last weekend.
Yeah.
He's great. He was working the Wizard's Chest booth. He works at Wizard's Chest, which is best store, I think, in Denver to get games, cosplay, costume stuff, magic tricks. I mean, that place is
That sounds awesome.
it is awesome. And it's all done. Like, it's all like, done up inside to look like you're inside a tavern kind of thing. That place is so good.
So Iceworm listens to the show, and I just wanted to say, you and I both have him doing things on the side for us, like background things that nobody ever sees or hears about.
No.
But that dude is one of the most like reliable, on point, constantly, consistently
really
good at doing that stuff. And there's no way he gets enough credit for this. So shout out to Iceworm. That dude's awesome. We think he's great.
He absolutely is. So it was so great to see him. We weren't expecting to see him there, and so it was great to see him. Also saw Dean Swedberg, member of the Denver Tadpole, there as well.
Nice.
It was great to see him. We actually got tickets free because one of Tina's coworkers, her daughter, does the marketing for FanX. Got this job in March and has been doing all the marketing for this. She's like her mother, like Tina's coworker, zero experience or not experience, zero idea what any of this stuff is. Doesn't know comics, doesn't know anime or sci-fi movies or hobbits or anything like that. And it's actually really good, we found out, because she's hanging out in the break room with all these celebrities who are there for signings, and she's like, "Oh yeah, how are those nachos? Oh yeah, they look really good. Okay, can I get you anything else? Do you want a Coke or a glass of water? No, you're good. Okay, fine." And then she gets up and leaves, and somebody says, "Do you know who that was that you were just sitting there talking to?" She's like, "No." He says, "That's Jim Lee, comic artist Jim Lee.
Jim
that you're
Lee.
just hanging out with." Four Hobbits were there. Including, Dominic Monaghan.
Good. Those guys. I mean, they're not
Charlie.
doing anything else, right? They're just chilling these days. So.
No, and freaking Elijah Wood still looks like he's 20.
Yeah,
I don't know how that. I don't know what he's done, but
he freaks me out. That guy's got to be. I mean, he's 40 or close to it.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Got to be. I think. Let me ask you this: when you you were there with those people. And wait, who was the first person you said that you saw? And they were like, "Oh, that's who that is, don't you?" Who'd you say?
Jim
it was?
Lee.
Jim Lee. Not only is that comic book artist and writer and creator Jim Lee, that's DC chief editor Jim Lee.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
See, I even forgot about that. I think Jim Lee. I think Image Comics, but I also think of that amazing X-Men. Non-uncanny X-Men #1 giant 5-cover thing that he did with
good.
It's so damn good.
So good. Also, if anyone out there, so he's does a lot of DC stuff now, but just going back through his catalog, Jim Lee is one of the greats, man. The day he goes is going to be a rough one and he's still kind of a young guy. It's not like he's in trouble or anything.
Right,
but exactly. He is so good, and if you've never read Batman Hush, you're missing out. It's one of the greatest, and I got the big fat hardcover thing. It's one of the greatest things, man. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Well, that's cool.
Dice Tomato, Wildcats, yes, was Jim Lee, but Gen 13 was
Scott.
Who's the guy who's just really good at drawing?
Oh, his women,
incredibly attractive women.
Yeah, Scott. Shoot, Scott something.
Scott?
Yep, it is. I know it is, but I can't think of his name. Last name?
J. Scott Campbell.
Oh, J. Scott Campbell. That's it.
Campbell, yes.
He has an initial. I forgot. He puts before the Scott. Yeah, J. Scott Campbell did Gen 13, but they were. I'm pretty sure Jim Lee has done a cover or two, and maybe
he
even an issue
has,
or
and
two.
Dice Tomato confirms that he did some covers for that.
Yeah.
I still have a ton of Wildcats, Gen 13.
I loved Wildcats. Can you make a Wildcats movie? Why not make a Wildcats movie?
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, we need an Image Cinematic Universe, an ICU. Oh, that doesn't quite work.
The ICU. Oh, yeah, we can't have the ICU.
That's right. Hey, what's Samuel L. Jackson? Oh, he's in the ICU now.
Yeah, he's in the ICU. Have you guys heard about that? Sam Jackson has jumped ship and is now in the ICU. Oh no.
No.
Is there anything we can do? Well, yeah, go watch the movie. It's a good movie. Yeah, but he's in the ICU.
Yeah. Hey, what's Matthew Modine doing these days? Oh, he's in the ICU.
Yeah, he's in the ICU. Yeah. I know. Everyone feels bad before they get excited.
Exactly.
That's amazing. All right, I had a thing about July 4th that I'll probably. Well, I need to share it, but I probably won't forget it. There was so what we do, because we live in this weird place where the actual community we live in called Daybreak, fireworks are not allowed ever. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is the surrounding areas around Daybreak, like parts of South Jordan and Harriman, and on the other side, I guess that would be, I don't know what that is over there. But anyway, all these other places, they can do fireworks unless there's some broader state law that says, hey, too dry this year, don't do fireworks at all.
Sure.
But they can. So what we do, all of Daybreak basically does this. Some people cheat and do it anyway, and nobody really enforces it. But if you walk down just a block from where my house is, there's a big giant park kind of down below, and then the valley continues on, and you can see basically mountain to mountain the entirety of the south end of the valley before the point of the mountain. So it's really a cool view, and it's this amazing thing. And during the 4th and 24th, because it's stupid like that with our Pioneer Day.
Utah Day or Pioneer Day, that's right.
We do it again. So all those fireworks just keep happening. But anyway, Kim and I usually, to avoid crowds and crap, I don't want to go to a big one like a concert one or any of that crap. I don't want to do that.
No.
So instead we go out there, we pull up we get our chairs that we take from home, some snacks, a couple of drinks, whatever. Go up there and we sit on the ridge there, and then we can see everything, and we just wait for the sun to go down. It's always nice, always a nice chill, just sit and talk and chill out. And there's other people, but they're all kind of scattered around. It's not a crowd. And then the whole valley, when they start popping off, is just ba-boom, boom, boom, ba-boom, boom. And you just see them everywhere, including the big ones. They're just in the distance or whatever. So you're getting to see the big ones. Some people are just doing a lot of whatever. And I always have this game where I try to estimate how much money they're spending. So
that probably cost them a pretty penny. Oh, that one's definitely a price.
Yeah, because some of them might go, that's $20, that's $20, that's $20. That one's probably cheap. That's probably a $45 box they got at Costco, but
nice,
still.
Yeah.
So try to add it up. We usually end up at around, that was about $300,000 worth of fireworks in the general area, or whatever. Yeah. It's probably annoying that I do this, but I do it. Anyway, so we're sitting there, and up behind us is one of these new townhomes, which weren't there last year, or I guess 2 years ago. Okay. And up on the top balcony, they have this awesome view of everything. And I hear these people up there talking, and I thought what I would hear was like, oh, wow, look at that one. Ooh, bring me more, whatever. Bring me more pigs in a blanket, or whatever they're doing.
Is that what they're having up there, pigs in a blanket?
I don't know. Actually, I have no idea what they're eating. But here's what I hear. I hear this guy go, I'm never trusting my brother-in-law again. And I picked up. And I went, oh, what's this? So I kind of...
Yeah, that's the story I want to hear, yeah.
I turned this way a little bit, and it's before the big noisy ones have gone, so I can kind of still hear them. It's what they're saying is carrying to where I am, and the wind's actually blowing that direction a little bit. So I listened a bit more. What it was this guy's brother-in-law convinced this dude to buy up a bunch of NFT crypto stuff.
I was expecting this to be a crypto or NFT thing. Oh my God, that's awesome.
And he says to the lady he lost $420,000 in these NFT, and he can't unload anything. Like, he can't get rid of anything. He's like super stuck with it.
Oh my God.
And it's like, it reminded me that there's a story floating around about the guy who bought Jack Dorsey's first tweet.
let's throw some shade at Patreon now. Yeah.
No, Jack Dorsey's original tweet, the founder of Twitter, his original tweet went for $2.9 million as an NFT.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah.
And that guy's projected to lose $2.9 million on a thing. So he's going to lose 100% of its value. Anyway, so that's what they're talking about up there. And he's like, yeah, well, I lost $420,000. And I almost went, 420, blaze up or something. But I didn't. And all I could think of,
good, yeah.
And he was just, that's all that guy wanted to talk about. The rest of them up there was one guy who's going, yeah, so I'm hoping the Raiders this year, this and that, talking sports or whatever. And this other guy goes, and damn it, it's not like real money where I can just go get the money out of the bank. I have to, he just complained the whole time. And all I could think of was like, A, your brother-in-law sucks. B, yeah, you could have maybe not done that.
Yeah.
Maybe you could have not. Maybe this speculation on very ridiculously hard to track and figure out what the up and down's going to be every day. Maybe you could have held back a little and not spent $420,000.
Listen, it could have just as easily been, oh yeah, he told me to put all my money into Chevron and now I'm down, $420,000. I mean, we have a special place in our hearts for cryptocurrency and NFTs because it's,
Yeah, but it's also a much more, it's a safer bet to bet on Exxon than it would ever be for this. Like, I wonder if these JPEGs I can right click and save for myself are going to do well. Like, I feel like he had, you know what? Like, if you go, what do they call that? Not volatile stocks, whatever it is. Like, there's a difference between investing, let's say, $1,000 in IBM. Where you're looking at it's consistent, but
maybe
then you got to market like
900,
NFTs,
800 or something like that, and it'll go back up. Yeah, it's like.
But whereas crypto goes up and down every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Like just constant, and right now just totally bottomed out.
And it is pooping the bed.
So I would have done if I had 10 grand just laying around. Okay, invest some. That's fine.
Sure,
do what you got to do. Have a Bitcoin.
Not gonna do it. Yeah. Golly, yeah, but if I lost $420,000, I'd be talking about it too. Poor guy.
Yeah, and he didn't sound like a guy that was. He didn't sound like somebody who had the 420 to spare based on the complaining I was hearing. And that's the problem. Is it was like he probably had some good savings going. His brother-in-law convinced him this is how to double it quickly or something. You'll walk away with $1 million. I'm sure he told him. And anyway, it's a pyramid scheme, and they're all getting screwed.
I do like watching. I not early on, but a while back, I bought $100 worth of Bitcoin just to see. And so anytime we bring it up on the show, I'm like, oh well, let's pull up. Let me just take a look and see where I'm at. It's like, oh yeah, $100 now worth $45. So great.
Yeah, pretty
That's
good.
Just awesome.
At least it's only 100 though. Yeah,
like, it's not 420,000. That felt like that's money I'd put on a craps table.
There you go.
It's basically, that's the way I look at it. It's like that money is spent the second I set it in front of the croupier to turn into chips.
And if
I walk away with anything, icing on the cake.
And you've got this weird little piece of history thing. Like, I wish I owned a tiny bit like that. I do. Even if it goes negative, I don't care. Like, I just kind of want to have it and say...
I don't want it to go negative, because then don't I owe somebody more money?
Oh, good point. Yeah. I guess you'll never owe anybody, but
it'll
even
never
if
drop below zero, I hope.
Yeah, let's say it hits zero. That's fine. As long as I have this thing where I can say, yeah, I got one of those. I just have one, But I'm not gonna bet my damn future on it. I got,
no.
people in my life are scrambling now because they got so hosed with this crash.
Guess what, son? You're going to college, hopefully, in a few years, and it'll all be crypto. What's it doing?
Yeah, no kidding. The worst part is this. Like, they came to it with real money and said, here's my 50 grand of real money. Let's convert it to Ethereum. And then did their thing. And now it's just literally, if you're going to go pull it back out, what are you pulling out? Like, what do you're just going to pull out half or less of the money? It just seems like a bummer.
Yeah, no, at this point, I'm letting it ride. It's like, all right, it's half gone. Let's just see where it goes.
Yeah,
and
maybe one day, Brian,
go back up to $100. If it even goes up to 150, I'll be like, you know what? I'll pull it out.
Yeah,
but
why not?
Yeah.
Either that, or $100 is worth it to have a weird experiment that goes on for years. Just a thing to try, and then maybe one day, if it suddenly goes bananas and you're suddenly worth $500,000 from your $100 investment, great, pull it out.
Right? Yeah.
But I wouldn't bet on it.
Nope.
All right. There's all that. Good stuff. Good conversation this morning. Now this. It's time for the news, and it's brought to you by.
Remember those old console gaming racing games we grew up playing on small CRT screens? Well, there's a new game out there, AV Racer. It's a 2D top-down retro arcade racing game inspired in style by all that nostalgia and in gameplay by the spirit of old arcaders. You play in 5 different championships on 14 handmade tracks with 24 different circuits. Collect trophies and unlock cars and tracks, compete against challenging AI, or enjoy the game with a friend in a 2-player split-screen mode. The game is available now on Steam for just $4.99. Consider supporting the developer, a Tadpool member, by checking out this game on Steam. It's called AV Racer.
Yeah, and I played it, and it's awesome. You guys should play. Now, if you remember Super Sprint? I think we talked about this.
I totally remember Super Sprint.
Yeah. Games like that, like these old top-down racing games.
Yes.
It's basically a love letter to that style of racing, and it's awesome. I love it.
It's so cool. What a great nobody else recently feels like they were doing that. So it's like, oh, this is the kind of game I miss. Going to the arcade, sitting around with your friends around like 4 wheels around an arcade machine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he basically, he made your dreams come true. So go play that game, everybody.
Yeah.
And it's super cheap. It's like $5. Come on. Get in there.
That's great.
All right. Hey, a giant concrete eating snail, a bunch of snails, have triggered a Florida quarantine. It's too bad an actual pandemic couldn't do that in Florida, but
no kidding.
These freaking snails will do it.
I'll bet they're fine putting masks on these snails.
Oh yeah, they got no problem with that. They'll probably even take those snails' guns away. It says here, sounds like a horror movie. Night of the Giant Snails. Stucco snacking, disease-carrying mollusks invade Florida in 3D, but it's real. Florida issued a quarantine order after the June 23rd confirmation that the giant African land snail, known as the GALS, or GALS, shows up in Pasco County. Snails in general seem like slow, relatively harmless plant snacking animals, but these are on another level. I've never seen these before. Look at the size of this thing.
I haven't either. It's huge. I like the one in that guy's gloved hand. If it can eat through concrete, dude, it can eat through that little thin sheet of latex glove that you're wearing.
Yeah, and it doesn't. Oh, look at that. Oh gosh, damn it, dude.
Do we? The next picture. Wow. Do we need to do the abbreviation GALS? That feels like. Gals.
I know. Florida's been invaded by a bunch of gals, see?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Just salt them. Just salt the earth.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah.
That's all we need, right? Just helicopters dumping massive amounts of salt everywhere in
Doesn't that work? It works on snails, right? They don't like it, as far as I know.
Is there any connection between this and that high-rise that collapsed down there? Like, was it... could this have had anything to do with it?
I don't know. That's an interesting. I don't know if they ever. I mean, I think the results of that investigation were like old, shoddy workmanship or something.
Really old, crappy building. Yeah.
But imagine these inside your walls, eating your stucco and your freaking whatever else.
No thanks.
Eat. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah, that's nasty, dude.
Mayor Watts says nope, not the Florida collapse last year. Okay.
Oh well, then citation needed. Whoever that is. Anyway, these things can reach more than 7 inches. For those around the world, that's 18 centimeters. Mm-hmm. In all the places that are smart to adopt the metric system.
The metric system.
Yeah. Yes. That's the full length of these things. They lay thousands of eggs during its lifespan and can travel by clinging to vehicles and trash. Well, how does trash move? I guess trash.
No, let them eat the trash. It's totally fine.
Yeah. It says they can also carry salmonella. They also have a parasite called rat lungworm.
Oh, I don't like any of those words altogether.
Yep, causes meningitis in humans. That's I've had a friend with meningitis. You do not want that, ever.
No.
It's basically a infection under your skin, and you can get cranial, in the brain infections, which you can't get to. It's really rough.
Ugh.
The Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, or FDACS, caution people must wear gloves and follow proper protection and sanitation rules when handling the mollusks. Don't eat these is one thing you don't want to do. Don't eat them.
Please don't. Yes, that's very bad.
Don't come home from
you
a
French
long day
people.
at work and go,
don't be like, oh,
escargot.
Giant escargot. Where's my plate was just here a moment ago. Where's my plate?
I mean, the animal is still here, but where does the plate go? We go as stereotyped as possible here.
Yes, we do. Yes.
The quarantine says the quarantine for part of the county calls for nurseries, solid waste facilities, trash haulers, and landscapers to abide by certain conditions, including reporting snail detections, applying pesticides, and allowing inspection of equipment. Their precautions are designed to prevent the spread of the snails. Again, doing more against these snails than they did against COVID-19, which actually proves my point about if COVID-19 was more visible, we'd have a very different discussion in this country about it. Like if you look like monkeypox or it had some kind of outward expression, you wouldn't have people going, it's fake or it's that. It wouldn't happen.
Hoax.
Yeah, they would just go, oh shit.
Yes. I don't want to be orange.
Yeah.
I don't want my skin to turn pink. Oh my gosh, let's
not catch COVID. I hate to say this. I just wish it had a physical component. that healed up and went away. I don't want you permanently scarred.
No, but something, right. We want to see the star-bellied Sneetches. We want to actually see the stars on their bellies so that we can isolate them.
That's right. If you're going to what's the Secret Invasion? What are they called?
Skrulls.
Skrulls. If there's a Skrull there, I'd like to know.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Okay. Here's a nasty one. 13 decomposing bodies found at an Indiana funeral home. Now, you might say to yourself, well, wait, the funeral home, isn't that full of bodies?
Isn't that where decomposing bodies are supposed to be?
Well, they're not supposed to decompose. They're supposed to be treated and then, buried or otherwise burned or disposed of, but that's not what happened here. The decomposing bodies of 31 people, along with the cremated remains of 16, were discovered by officers during an inspection of a funeral home in Indiana. The inspection of Lake Ford Funeral Home and Family Center came following a tip from the condition of the business, said one of the police officers at the department there. Says the bodies were said to be in various stages of decomposition and not clear if police suspect there was any wrongdoing, and no arrests have been made. It may just be a really poorly run mortuary.
I think so. We just have a really bad backlog. We're trying to get these bodies through the incinerator. Sorry.
It sounds like a lot of them are, families would definitely be aware that there's a problem, so this sounds like maybe people that don't have a direct connection to anybody, or they were just
if
homeless.
You're trying to schedule a funeral and it's like, oh yeah, no, we still have your uncle's body here. Sorry, it's going to be a while.
Yeah, and also them being in different stages of decomposition, they should have been. If they're going to embalm them, they would have done that, or they'd be on ice. There's like a bunch of things you would do. You wouldn't just leave them laying around and have them bloat out and be gross.
No,
it's really
the
weird.
Place must smell like hell.
Oh, can you imagine? Oh my gosh, dude.
Ugh.
Let's see. They had some people. Oh, no one answered the phone at the funeral home. Some recorded messages. Okay, so it sounds like something's up.
I have a question about the name. Langford Funeral Home and Family Center.
And Family Center.
Like,
yeah, what does that mean?
Come say goodbye to your loved ones and have a birthday party in the next room.
Yeah, is that what that is? I wonder if that is what it is. Like they've got a little convention space or something.
I don't know.
Seems really weird.
Like play our skee ball and enjoy our collection of arcade games.
That's right. We have a television with the latest Pixar films running 24/7. Also, dead bodies everywhere.
Right, exactly. Yes.
That's really odd. I don't know what that is. Family Center. Because when I think Family Center, that's what I think of is like, oh, we're going on vacation. We're going to go to the Family Center, and the kids are going to swim, and we're going to...
Yeah, there's water slides and stuff like that. Family Center, some arcade machines. There's some, paintball or whatever.
Genie. Sounds like a movie for next Halloween. Yeah, it does kind of.
It does.
I don't like the sound of any of this. I watched a horror movie.
10% when you bury the whole family.
I watched a horror movie over the weekend that I'm terrified to recommend. I don't think I will recommend it.
Really? Terrified like it scared you, or you're...
I don't think anyone will... I don't think... How do I put this? It's an Australian film that I watched on Shudder, because I got Shudder for the month, because I wanted to watch Mad God. Yeah. So yeah, I thought, well, I'll watch other stuff on there. There's this Australian thing, and I forgot the name of it. It's...
movie or you said it's a movie, right?
It is a movie. Yeah, it's like an hour and a half or maybe a little hour and 45-minute Australian thing, and it's really disturbing. And I forgot the name. Lions or wolves? I forget. It's basically a couple that lures people into their basement and traps them there and tortures them before they kill them, and then they go bury them. And it's the kind of horror movie my wife would hate because she like if you say, hey, we're gonna watch this Freddy versus Jason thing or whatever, she's like, whatever, there's supernatural bullshit going on.
Yes,
but when it's like actual
potentially your neighbors kind of thing,
when someone's kidnapped, held against their will, tortured horribly, you know, these sorts of things you can't do. And I can't. I normally don't like them either, but there's
a movie that came out a couple of years ago that I heard was really good, but was a family there's basically a home invasion where they took the family hostage in their own home.
Oh, right. What was that?
And some big name actors in there, and it got a lot of good reviews. And for whatever reason, it's like, I don't know if I can watch that. That stuff does freak me out.
What is called? It's called.
Somebody in the chat room.
Not Hostage House. That's not that, right?
No.
Not Inside. That's something else.
Less like a Strangers. Was that it?
Is it
The
Strangers?
Stigma 82. Let me
Or
see
The
if that's it.
Strangers? That's nobody I know in terms of Liv Tyler, Scott Speedman. I don't remember.
That might be.
Kidnapped, House on the Left, Single White Female. That's definitely not
No,
it.
I don't think that's it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Liv Tyler was not the most well-known name in that thing. The Owners?
When a Stranger Calls? No.
Hmm.
I don't know what I know what you're talking about. 100%. Like there's something with big name actors that was really well regarded, but just seemed like a harrowing nightmare.
Yeah, exactly.
And I couldn't watch it either for the same reason. Anyway, not Panic Room. See, even Panic Room's not in this cat. Kim could watch Panic Room.
Yeah, right.
It's something. I don't know what it is.
But there's something about kind of bumbling, that the people in the Panic Room thing, the intruders, the burglars are kind of be bumbling, almost Home Alone level doofuses.
I spend
calculating. No, we've planned on taking the people in this house hostage and
it's always like even like the not Dances with Wolves, Whisper with Sheep. What's that called? Sheep?
I don't know. Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs. At least that also has a feeling of almost like otherworldliness to it, even though it's not. It's hard for me to explain why some get me and some don't, but. Whisper of the Sheep. That's not
Whisper of the Sheep. Yeah. Was it? And I think they had masks on the movie poster. Darn it. Yeah, it's going to drive me nuts. For some reason, I was thinking Toni Collette was in it, but I'm not. I think I might be confusing it. Around the same time was Hereditary.
Oh, Hereditary.
So it was about 2018 when that thing came out.
That movie's still in my head. Freaking Hereditary messed me up that night. That was a hell of a. That is one I will recommend if you like horror movies because it actually scared me.
It's so good. Yeah.
Gosh dang it scared me. Plus it was filmed in Park City, which I think about every time I go up there now. It's like, oh shit, this is where that was made. Speaking of which, you know what I got really into, and it's partly your fault. And for years you've been telling me this, so have other people. You're not the only one, but finally jumped in and started watching a ton of the Orville. And here's my take. The Orville is fantastic.
It is
to the point I can't believe how long this took me. I'm irritated at myself. I'm going to feel this way about Loki. Everyone, shut up. But the point is,
and Parasite and this and
it's so good. It's so like I don't even know how to say this. It's such a love letter to Next Generation. And I don't just mean it's got its comedy bits and it's got some other stuff. But they have a handle on the whole, let's use science fiction to explore hard to discuss topics. Yeah. Like, let's make, I forgot his name, but the Cleon-like dude who's always gruff.
Oh, Bortus.
Bortus and his husband.
Right.
Because they're an all-male society. They have no females. Mm-hmm. I don't want to spoil anything because this was all awesome to learn as I went. But then they have this episode where the baby they have, which is in the history of that world and those people have always been male because they're a male-only society. They have a girl, and they got to figure out what to do about it. And then they find out they're not the first ones. Like, it's these issues of today, but through the lens, like Star Trek's always been. Yeah. And this is better than they do it. Like, I mean, you could argue TOS and TNG did a great job, and they did, of dealing with these things, and DS9 to some degree, and even Voyager. But these guys, it's so good. It's so good. I absolutely freaking love it, Brian.
Yeah, it's so good. It basically does all the things that we wanted Star Trek Discovery and Picard to do, but doesn't do. It gives us that, like, this feels like the Next Generation. It's got that
they're trying. They're over there trying to be Star Wars, while these guys are like, no, we're going to try to be Star Trek, even though we're not allowed to be. We'll call it the Orville, and we'll just be Star Trek. Like, they're not afraid to be the thing that we all love, and that for whatever reason, Paramount Plus, although it sounds like Strange New Worlds is bucking that trend, but and I haven't seen it yet, but they just are afraid to do it. Like, they're, no, today's sensibilities and the way we film things, it's not going to work today. No, it does. It freaking does. And not only does it works in spades. And also, you don't have to sacrifice effects. You don't have to sacrifice humor. You can actually laugh a little bit. It is freaking great.
Yeah.
So if you were like me and you've been holding off, sleeping on freaking getting Orville going, don't do that anymore. Watch the Orville. It's all on Hulu. There's new episodes coming out now for this new season, and I hope they never freaking stop.
Yeah. Especially, and if you're like, I'm not a big Family Guy fan. I'm not a big fan of that, Seth MacFarlane's humor. Don't worry. It's such a small part of the Orville. If you're not a Family Guy fan, don't hold Family Guy against.
No, if anything, it may improve your opinion of Family Guy, or at least your opinion of Seth MacFarlane. Just go, man, that dude's got range. He also clearly has like an unending supply of love for the source material. Mm-hmm. And it shows in every episode. And I don't just mean hard social issues like, Kirk kissing Uhura back in the day was a big deal for interracial couples and stuff in the 60s. It was a huge deal then. We don't think about it so much now, but it was huge. Things that happen on TNG with, or even DS9 with what's her name? Where she had the symbiote in her. And he was that character was
Dax?
Dax. Dax, that's right. Mm-hmm. And Jadzia Dax is now got Curzon Dax as her thing, and that thing used to be a dude, and so there's like they dealt with gender issues there. So yeah, you can have those kinds of social issues, but also Star Trek does science issues. Like there's this episode of the Orville, I loved it, where they go to the home planet of what's her name. I can't remember anyone's name, but they go to what's her name's home planet where Picardo's her dad. Robert Picardo.
Oh, yeah.
That's the other thing. You get a bunch of Star Trek people in this thing.
You'd love cameos. Yeah.
But you go to their planet, and they're all stronger than anyone else because it's 10 times the gravity of Earth or something. And so when Captain Mercer, played by Seth MacFarlane, needs to walk over there, he's got this special suit on that makes it so he can exist in the gravitational pull.
High gravity. Yep.
And not be mushed. But then the suit breaks down because he gets shot by the doctor from Enterprise. And he ends up on the ground with a timer that basically when the timer runs out, he's just going to crush. His bones are going to crush. It's going to be awful. And I just love them playing with those kinds of hypotheticals, playing with societal hypotheticals. It's great. Yeah. It's great. Watch it. I mean it. All right. That's it for news. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Bobby Frankenberger. Bill's still on his vacation, so as a result, he will not be here. When he gets home, he'll be making something. We know that.
Oh, there'll be lots of making going on.
You'll never see so much making. But today it's science, so stick around for that. Before that, though, Brian, can you play a song for us all?
Yeah, how about Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania? I don't think we've gone there for music before.
No.
An alt-rock duo called Observe the 93rd. They have a brand new album called An Eeriness to Everything. These guys are really, really good. And I don't know who I'd compare them to, but they've got kind of Supergrass, I think, was who I initially wrote down. Maybe a little bit of Panic at the Disco, Brandon Urie and stuff like that. Anyway, hey, why wait anymore? Listen to it yourself. Here is the brand new single from An Eeriness to Everything from Observe the 93rd. It's called Dopamine.
Will the owner of a white Pontiac Firebird... Oh, never mind. Zero!
You fight for Sparta!
Sit down and listen, punk. This is the Morning Stream.
All right, we're back, everybody. I want to write down who that band was, so tell me one more time.
Sure, that band is called Observe the 93rd. Brand new album called An Eeriness to Everything. That song is Dopamine.
That's awesome.
Man,
lately...
Yeah, they just opened for Lit on tour, so...
I don't know who Lit is. Should I know Lit?
Lit, I could swallow my line to get under this line.
Oh.
Leave me empty inside. Swallow down, turn it inside out. There's nothing but faith. No, that's not Lit. Who's that? That's somebody else. My own worst enemy. That's it. It's no surprise to me. I am my own worst enemy. That's it. Yeah. Eve 6. Eve 6 was the one I was just singing. Yeah, that's right. Eve 6.
Okay. Well, you do what you can do.
Listen, they kind of come up in my shuffle like one right after the other because they're kind of similar.
Yeah,
so.
You doing a genre play, you're going to get them all.
That's right. Thanks for the myriad of corrections in the tadpole between Eve 6 and Lit. Thank you.
Well done, everybody.
Science.
Look who it is. It's Bobby Frankenberger joining us all the way from South Carolina to talk about some science today. Hello, host of All Around Science, Bobby Frankenberger. How are you?
I'm doing well, host of The Morning Stream, Core, and many other podcasts.
No problem.
Scott
Hey, did you
Johnson.
notice? Bobby reached out to me once and said, on Core, could you please repeat the name of the game you're playing more often? Have you noticed I've tried to do that more? I don't know if you
I
noticed.
have noticed that. Yeah,
Okay.
it's helpful. I appreciate that.
Who says I don't listen to
your one listener? So for anybody listening, just know if you have a very specific request, all you have to do is email Scott, and he will absolutely make whatever change you want.
Yeah. No matter what it is, if you say to me, I want Brian to speak in his falsetto voice for the rest of the show's history, it's happening.
I'll do it. I'll have to do it. Scott will make me do it. And,
There's just no getting around it. But no, I really did take that to heart because I actually think that's a thing I wish more shows I listen to did, and not just with games, but like movies and TV or whatever. Like I want to, if they're going to make recommendations, I want to remember the damn thing.
Yeah,
and,
well,
do it.
Core is so long.
Yeah.
The show is that I have it on in the background throughout the day doing different things whenever it comes out. So sometimes I'm half listening and then I catch in the middle of you talking about a game and I'm like, wow, that really does sound good.
And then we don't say what it is again. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the problem with a long form show like that. I mean, and for the record, the show's not a day long. It's usually about 2 hours, 2 hours 15, something like that.
Yeah.
And Bobby's right. So let this be a lesson to everybody out there. Try to, if you're going to make recommendations, whatever the format is, whatever the thing is, say it at the top, say it again at the end, at the least. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. Hey, Bobby, it's good to have you here. The world of science never stops moving, no matter what we do to it. So what's going on today that you think would be of interest to our listeners?
Well, there's a lot of things going on, but you mentioned last week something about how there's a bunch of different Omicron variants of COVID-19.
Yeah.
One with like neuro something, eat your brain.
It's just
whatever.
all of the variants that are out there. There's so many now. I thought, why not do a quick roundup of what they are and what the differences are, like what the different flavors of Omicron are right now, and what you should know about them.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about it. Like, should people immediately go, ugh, freaking? Not only is it easier to catch now, even if you're vaxxed, but now it goes after my brain cells.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. So the short answer to that is probably not. And it has to do with why they and how they name variants and what counts as a subvariant and all that kind of stuff. So, the fact that they're all Omicron means that they're all kind of similar to each other.
Okay.
So when you go for, before Omicron was Delta, and when they named. So Delta, Beta, Gamma, Omicron, all of these different variants, they were variants of COVID-19. So they're all the same virus, but they're quite different genetically from each other. Yeah. And so that's why they have these different names. But the difference between Delta and it was quite different from Delta, so they renamed it a completely different variant, Omicron. But within those variants, you can have still genetic differences that make them different enough from each other that you might want to point that out. And so that's what a subvariant is. And that's where you have like these BA.1, BA.2, and so on. Now they're up to .5 with Omicron.
Do you think this stuff, the way science has to categorize and name and stuff, do you think it confuses the less read parts of our communities? You know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't, how do I put this? I'm not trying to be rude, but there are people who hear this sort of thing and just go, science, what do they know? All I know is my dog loves me or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it feels like it's complicated.
That took a left turn.
I don't know why. I couldn't think of another thing to do without offending somebody, but you know what I mean.
Well, yeah. So I think there are definitely people who are exhausted by the fact that things are always changing. That's the nature of science. We're constantly updating our knowledge and having to, and when you update what you know with new information, sometimes you have to change your opinion about things, or I don't like to say your opinion about things. You have to update what is true in your mind, right? And that can be frustrating to people because sometimes it's very difficult in the first place to take effort to learn something. It is difficult. You have to read and do research and understand it. That can be really difficult by itself, just understanding something. And when you finally do that and you turn around and a day later it changes, that can be frustrating, right?
Yeah.
And exhausting. So I sympathize with that. But it doesn't make it easier when everyone, and especially the news, are so laser focused on everything that's going on with COVID, something that is like an existential threat, we're being told, which is, it was true at least at some point. It was very threatening, and so it's like, oh my God, this is a big deal. I need to pay attention to it. There's so much information coming at me with every little change, and that can be really exhausting, and I don't blame anybody. And I do sometimes think maybe we shouldn't have a headline about every subvariant of COVID that comes out, right? That we discover, because as I'll get into in a minute, most of these really are not super concerning. Not in the way that people might be thinking about. Now, the .4 and .5 subvariants of Omicron are a little concerning for reasons I'll get to in a second, but not like life-threateningly. Nothing to just throw up your arms and just give up.
More than the baseline that is already the danger or the concern or whatever.
Yeah, if it doesn't change what we have to do to keep from getting it or anything like that, or procedures we have to take, it shouldn't. Don't let us know about it. Just
that's a really good way to think about it, Brian. Is that none of these subvariants that we're discovering are changing anything about the way you should be behaving.
Right.
Yeah.
Still, be careful if you're in a public place, especially if you're at higher risk. Wear a mask. If you're outdoors right now, still not a huge deal with a mask. But if you want to err on the side of caution, wear a mask. Everything we already know. I'm not saying anything you don't already know when I say all that.
Well,
but what about these variants should we know? A quick history. The original COVID classic is called, you hear referred to as the ancestral strain.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that?
I have heard that. I always wondered about that term.
I haven't.
Yeah, ancestral strain refers to the original COVID when it was discovered back in 2019. And so the ancestral strain was already very concerning because it spread very quickly, right? And it had an R value. I'm going to say R value a couple times here, and just to refresh anybody's memory who might have forgotten, or anybody who didn't know, the R value just refers to how quickly it spreads. The ancestral strain had an R value of about 2.8, which means that for every person who got the original COVID, they could expect on average to infect about 2.8 people around them. Delta was the first major variant that everyone was really panicky about. There were a couple before that, but Delta was like the big one. That's when we had the first really huge surge in cases, right?
Yeah.
Is when Delta came around, and that had an R value of 5.8. That's what was such a big deal about that. It spread so much more easily. That was nearly, for every person, nearly 6 other people were likely to get infected by every person who had Delta.
Wow.
But then, then when Omicron came, it got even worse because that R value jumped to 8.2. And so these are the big changes that were happening. Now, there are a lot of other things with Omicron. Omicron was there were, you might have remembered them talking about how, like, with Omicron, they discovered 50 mutations or more than 50 mutations
Right.
in the virus, and 26 of them, I think it was 26, were unique to this variant and hadn't been seen before, and a bunch of them, like over 30 of them, of the mutations, were on the spike protein itself, which is how it attaches itself to cells in your body, and all this kind of stuff. And that was what was a big deal about Omicron, and all those things together made it very easy for it to spread or to infect people effectively. And so that's when we started paying attention to Omicron. Very, very quickly, Omicron spread everywhere.
Yeah.
It was first identified in November in South Africa. This is November of last year.
Yeah.
And by early December, the first case was found in the U.S. And by the end of December, it was by far the majority of cases in the U.S. And I think early January, it was already in the 90%.
Does that mean the the previous variant or the previous flavor went away? Did it die off?
Original flavor? Yeah.
Like, because that's the idea, right? The more dominant thing takes over and everything else kind of says bye, right?
Yeah, because if it can't spread, if something else is spreading more quickly than it, then it can't take hold, because they're all the same virus, so they're all trying to fill the same niche in our bodies, in the environment.
Yeah.
So if some other strain comes along and gets to you first, then the other one isn't going to. So it does get pushed out. I don't actually know if they do find the ancestral strain anymore out in the wild. I think Delta is still out there, and but globally, it's in the single-digit percentages, I think.
Interesting. Because that is the point, right?
That.
The dominance of a strain is, I mean, that's the whole thing. There's the virus mutates and changes so that it can try to, I don't know. It's easy to assign a brain to these things, but you know what I mean? Like it wants to keep
really
going. So how does it propagate? Well, it alters its schmear, and then now everybody's got it again. Well, why? Well, because that one's much more contagious but less harmful. But that's the trade-off, and it can get confusing. I guess what I'm saying is, we call it ancestral strain. We should call it COVID classic.
COVID classic.
Then
like
the common man,
classic.
the common man would understand what we're talking about. You could say, someone in the chat mentioned crystal COVID, but that wasn't here very long. So you could do that with one of the short run strains. And
vanilla COVID.
These are the brains we're having to appeal to these days.
I need COVID 0. I'm not doing any of that.
Oh yeah, COVID 0 sounds great, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah.
Zero
all the
sugar
great taste
COVID.
of the original COVID.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, anyway, so that's interesting.
Yeah, but that's just Omicron. What I was just explaining to you is just when Omicron came on the scene, right?
Yeah.
That's just a variant of the SARS-CoV-2 virus, but what we wanted to talk about were subvariants. These you can subdivide that, because the thing about viruses is mutations are happening all the time, constantly.
Yeah.
You could go crazy with naming every single mutation and calling it its own subvariant or subvariant or something like that. But scientists aren't going to do that. Epidemiologists aren't going to do that, because most of them are not of concern. You don't the mutation that happens either does nothing or very little, and we're just not going to look at it. So what the CDC does, and the World Health Organization, they look at variants of concern. You've probably heard that before. And these are when a mutation or a cluster of mutations happens that is concerning and likely to make the virus behave in a different way in the population. So the main things that they look at are whether or not the mutations will make it spread more easily or quickly, or whether the mutations are going to make it more dangerous, or change completely how it works. That's very unlikely to happen, and that's not really how it's happened with COVID at all.
Yeah.
But the two main things are how quick is it changing, how quickly it spreads, and or is it making it more deadly or causing more severe illness, right?
Yeah.
And so when those changes happen, that's when they label it a variant of concern. Now, one of the tricky things about COVID is we're so hyper focused on it that sometimes variants get named and get into the headlines before we even know if these changes are going to impact the population, because our technology is so good at looking at these things. We can see the mutations and think, oh, that might be like the mutation right there has changed how the spike protein works, so that might be something that could be a problem. And then it ends up in a headline somewhere because it's someone found it in a preprint scientific server somewhere and said, oh, we need to be worried about this. But the ones, and that happened with like .3. So the .3, I'll start there. The .3 variant was it raised alarm bells. There were a lot of changes that were happening, but it never really took off.
Right.
So that one, nobody talks about that anymore.
No.
Because it didn't go anywhere.
It's not cool anymore to talk about that.
It's not cool anymore. Yeah. It was a one-hit wonder, and whatever other metaphor you want to use.
Sure, why not?
But the very first one, you'll see BA.1 sometimes. That is just the first Omicron variant that was discovered. So that's not really like different from Omicron when it first came on. We just called it BA.1.
Yeah.
Like I already said, that one was spread very, very quickly. That was the big deal about that, and that's why we named it Omicron and separate from Delta, because it had so many mutations and it spread really, really quickly. The other thing about Omicron BA.1 was it was when we started to notice that symptoms started to get much more mild than previous variants of COVID. So that was a promising, hopeful thing. Yes, it was spreading more quickly, but the symptoms were mild. There was a lot less of you probably don't hear about this very much anymore. There was a lot less of the loss of taste and smell symptom going on.
Yeah.
That indicates probably that there are less neurological impacts happening, although it's still not 100% clear why the loss of taste and smell was happening.
Yeah, which is in itself a neurological condition, right? Because
it can be. It could be that you're losing taste and smell because of other things going on in your sinuses or your, just other parts of your airway and everything that aid with that. But there were, I think, some of the leading hypotheses were that it was somehow neurologically.
My son-in-law still can't eat strawberries, and it's been
really a
month and a half or something. I think Dan still can't. Dan Patrice, our very own Dan Patrice, still can't eat French fries for some reason.
Yeah, guy across the street who normally does the bike ride thing, he still doesn't have capacity in his lungs, so he gets winded still, and it's been weeks.
And we had this guy who we just heard about yesterday who went in. He's super anti-vax, so that's part of the equation. But he's relatively young, 42-year-old dad of 3 kids, I think. Ended up in the hospital on a respirator for original COVID, for legacy COVID. And then, what's the word you used? Primordial?
Ancestral?
Ancestral
COVID.
It was something like that.
COVID.
Primordial COVID. Anyway, he comes home. He's like, yeah, I beat it. I didn't need no vaccine to beat it. I'm like, yeah, you may not have had to have gone in if you didn't. Anyway, whatever. So he's home, but then he starts having weird issues, like the smell and taste thing don't come back for him for a really long time. He can barely breathe. It's like a lot of residual stuff, long COVID-y kind of stuff happened to him. And then he caught it again 2 months ago. Didn't end up in the hospital this time, but is now dealing with some kind of weird neurological stuff, nervous system stuff. What's that nerve ending pain thing that he's never had to deal with before, all right in the wake of this recent infection. And the problem is we haven't done enough to know for sure that you can say, yes, 100% we're sure this was COVID related, because we can't.
Right.
But nobody knows what else to say about it except, well, they're all mysterious conditions that you got out of nowhere only after a second dose of this COVID thing. And that's when the conversation started going in this direction of, well, I hear the new variant attaches to your neurological cells and turns you into a monkey or whatever. Like there's some panic around that. And this guy seems to be like, a little bit of an example of it. He's still anti-vax, by the way. The point is, of course. And his poor kids. Oh, he's in the hospital now for sepsis, but the sepsis is not your normal, like, it's not called sepsis, but it's basically like a meningitis type thing that's somewhere up here in his head or something. And they have no explanation for it. They're like, we can't figure out what the frick happened to this guy, except that he had 2 really rough bouts of COVID. One almost killed him. The second one just left him a mess. So anyway, it's so easy for us. It is scary, but it's easy for us to take these anecdotal examples, people that we know or whatever, and then apply a broad blanket to it. And I think that's...
And I'm glad you said that, because there actually isn't a lot of evidence, or none that I found, that these Omicron subvariants are any more or less likely to do neurological damage. That's probably data that's going to take a long time for us to hash out, because that stuff usually just takes longer. You have to look at people for a long time and see what's happened.
Probably years, right? Like,
yeah. I don't know how they monitor that exactly, so I wouldn't want to say, but I know that from what I could find, I couldn't really find strong evidence that these current Omicron variants were any more or less neurologically active or anything. I think the word you were looking for was neuropathic pain. Yeah. Anyway, so that was what happened with Omicron, and the story of Omicron and all these subvariants really is a story of every one of them being faster to spread than the other ones. All right, because Omicron by itself was really, really fast, but then the BA.2 subvariant was discovered also in November, but we didn't really get our first cases in the U.S. until January. I don't know if you heard, that one was called the stealth variant. Did you ever hear that?
Oh, I do remember that one.
No, I don't remember.
No symptoms, right?
It wasn't because of no symptoms. The symptoms were basically the same, still mild. Actually, there was with this variant, there seemed to be more sore throat. Became more common, and also gastrointestinal stuff.
Oh, so,
like,
that stomach thing. That's right. Common. Yeah, some people had that real bad. I remember now. I didn't know it was called the stealth variant. It sounds like only Klingons would get it or something. Birds of prey.
It was called the stealth variant because it was really hard to distinguish from Delta in the PCR tests at the time, and that was when Delta was still around. So they were trying to find how much Delta versus Omicron was out there. They were still trying to figure out if Omicron was going to completely take things over, and spoiler alert, it did. But
it did.
But at the time, they were trying to figure that out, and it was very frustrating because these PCR tests would show up saying that there was the Delta variant, but it was actually this Omicron subvariant, and so they called it the stealth variant because it was hiding and masquerading as Delta.
Yeah. 3 of my neighbors got that version. But it was spreading
even faster than the original Omicron.
Yeah. So. Three of my neighbors got that version of it. They got the stomach version of it. And they are a mix of vaccinated and non-vaccinated, but in all their cases, it was a rough couple days.
Yeah.
And then doing great. I kind of wish this thing would morph into the rough couple day stomach thing. Well, I don't want to wish that on anybody, but it seems like that's more of a in and out and we're done type.
Which would you rather have, all things being equal? I'm curious about this. Which would you rather have, sinus congestion, cold type illness, or stomach
stuff?
If you're saying let's say both cases last the same amount of time, or do we not get that option?
No, you don't get that option because I'm thinking more real world, like congestion, sinusy stuff usually, and like stuff in your airway usually sticks around for like a week or
weeks,
two, like 2 weeks,
Yeah.
But diarrhea stuff, gastrointestinal stuff usually is like more severe Like
It's
to me,
shorter.
it's
Hits
more
harder,
severe,
but-
but it's
Yeah,
but
it hits harder,
comes
but
in and
is
out
over
real
faster.
fast.
Exactly. I think I would go with the latter, despite the fact that it would wreck my barf record. I don't want that to happen. I don't have
No,
I don't have a
gosh,
runny butt record. I wish I did, but I don't. I'm like everybody else in that regard. But other than that, like taking that off the table, I think I'd rather have the hard hit and get out. You know,
Definitely would rather have the stomach stuff, just because the sinus stuff for me more impacts my sleep because of the apnea than the stomach stuff would. So
oh, good point.
Yeah, well,
at least
that's
I could
why.
sleep and you know.
Yeah, that's why I would pick definitely the gastrointestinal stuff too, because I like to run, and so when I get like a chest cold and stuff, that puts me out of running for like 2 weeks. You know.
Yeah, it takes a while to get that back, and if it's COVID, maybe worse. So yeah, I think we'd all take the guts over the breathing air.
So we said before that BA.3, we never really cared much about that because it never really took off. But right now, everybody's talking about 4 and 5. I'm going to group those together because even though they're technically different, they are separate subvariants. People are concerned about them for the same reason, and it is because, as has been the story, they are spreading even faster than all the previous Omicron subvariants, which Omicron already was the fastest spreading version of COVID.
Oh, we got a record breaker then. That's what we got.
Right. So it's spreading even faster, but the other part of the continuing story is that there are even less severe cases of this version. So it's moving in the direction that you would expect a widespreading virus to move, which is easier to spread, faster spread, less severe. That's just a successful virus wants to do that, right? Because in terms of its success, if it can spread really, really quickly but not kill people, then it can spread more easily.
It spreads more easily and respreads because it wants to be. It finds homes and lives there. It's like a lot of. I mean, if you look at historical viruses that are a big deal, that's what they ended up doing, right? They leveled out.
Or it goes completely in the other direction, and that makes it a big deal too. Like it's incredibly deadly and fast. We
don't want that one.
Yeah. So
I'm just letting you know in case you have any sway with the virus.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
So I'll send it on up the line.
Okay.
You mentioned reinfection.
Yeah.
And that's the reason that people are talking a lot about these .4 and .5 subvariants, is because for some reason, well, there are two big concerns about this right now. First, it seems to be able to more easily reinfect people who had earlier forms of COVID, and that's why it's probably why you're starting to hear. I know I have starting to hear a lot more about people who are getting COVID for a second time.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's probably because of this. For some reason, this subvariant is different enough, or something, that it's able to reinfect people more easily who already had earlier forms of COVID. The other thing is that this version of COVID is able to get around vaccines more effectively. The vaccines are becoming less effective against these particular subvariants. Mm-hmm. Now the vaccines still work. So this is not a call to
hold up on getting your vaccines. Yeah. No,
don't throw your needles out. That was a weird thing to say, but don't avoid getting a vaccine just because of that, because it's still somewhat effective.
Yeah.
It's just not as effective. Remember, these vaccines have been so great because starting off they were at like upper 90% effectiveness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So being less effective might still be like they're only 60 or 70% effective, but in terms of vaccines, that's still pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah.
So still get vaccinated, but that's the concern, because if it continues to go in this direction, now good news is with mRNA technology, we can respond. Scientists and companies can respond to that very quickly.
Yeah.
They can come up with new vaccines and get them out into the boosters and everything more quickly.
Yeah, which is what you want. That's what we want.
Yeah.
I was listening to a song by 311 yesterday, and it's
Become
called
original?
It's called "Dodging Raindrops." It's from their latest album in 2019, Voyager. It's really good, by the way. They make great music right now. I'm going to pause this for YouTube. Sorry, YouTube.
Search for it and you'll find it. We've got a website, allaroundscience.com. Yesterday, the episode that came out was all about traffic. You remember we talked about some traffic a few weeks ago. I told you I was doing some research for an episode. Well, that's the episode. Just came out.
Traffic like car traffic,
science.
right?
Car traffic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, what caught like those slowdowns that then turn into giant.
Phantom traffic jams. Yeah.
Right. That was it. That was the term. Yes.
Oh, very cool. I want to hear this.
If you live in a big city like Atlanta, you're very familiar with phantom traffic jams.
That's true. For a hot second, we looked at a house in Atlanta last year.
It was really a hot second.
Yeah, it was a hot second.
Not the same thing.
Part of the reason we didn't do it was how hot every second will be. So we didn't do it. But also, it's now really expensive to buy that house in Atlanta, and nobody's moving anywhere. Anyway, well, this is all good stuff. Check it out, All Around Science, wherever you get your podcasts. Bobby, having you on, man, it's just a treat.
Thanks.
And we look forward to having you on next time. We'll see you later.
See you, Bobby.
Big, grinny, long-haired Jesus.
I know. It's
guy.
a good... he was ready for a freeze frame, really, with that look.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. I would, too, if I had his hair.
Sure.
All right. To get out of here, we're going to do a quick email. This is an email that we received not long ago.
Send and receive email.
It's themorningstream@gmail.com. This is from Taylor, who says, Brian, this is mostly for you. He says, hi, Scott and Brian. I have a question for Brian that surely has been asked and answered before, but I can't keep up with the thousands of stories I've heard from the show. I was watching Kitchen Nightmares, and a restaurant in Arvada was the episode's focus. Did Brian ever get to experience the old neighborhood restaurant? Hardly an exciting question, but Brian is the only person I know in Arvada that exists, or anyone that I know in Arvada
That's
exists.
not what that sentence says.
Brian is the only reason I know Arvada exists. There we go.
The only person in Arvada that exists.
Oh, man. Tomorrow I'll tell you.
Tyler Durden of Arvada.
I'm going to tell you guys tomorrow about this giant new floaty that fell off my lens.
Oh, no. New floaty.
Stuff gets in the middle, and I screw words up even worse than I do normally. Anyway, he said it made me think of TMS. So before I go on, because there's more to this, what do you know this place? You ever been?
I do know the place. We went after, like, that place has been around forever. And I remember even as a kid going by there. It's right by a Target that used to be on a typical bike riding path that I would go along. But I never went there until maybe about, 10 years ago with the Crazy Neighbors. We went after the Kitchen Nightmares thing, and I think we even saw the episode beforehand, or we just knew because they had signs up that said recently featured in Kitchen Nightmares. And we actually, the person who served us, or at least came to our table at one point, was the owner. And we asked how the whole Kitchen Nightmares experience was. And he's like, he came in, he complained about all the stuff we had stuck on the walls and and on the shelves, and how it was never dusted. And we threw a lot of that stuff in the dumpster, but a couple things I went back and got and hid in my house until they left. And then I brought them back. There was a big mannequin that was at the entrance. The place closed and reopened recently as the Butchery, or opened again in the last 5 years as the Butchery.
Same people or new people?
Might be same people. I don't know. I never saw that guy. And I've been to the Butchery maybe 3 or 4 times. They have incredible breakfasts, or they did. They no longer do breakfast there. So it's like lunch and dinner only. And I haven't had a reason to go back there and try lunch or dinner because their breakfasts were so good.
Oh, interesting. Okay. But I wonder if that actually gave them, at least at the time, a boost.
I'm sure it gave them a boost. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have promoted like recently featured in Kitchen Nightmares, because then people are like, oh, well, that place now has got to be a lot better than it used to be. Let's go there and check it out, even if they'd never been there before. It's what drew us and the Crazy Neighbors there.
It's that's interesting. So it did work in that regard. So I know this like some restaurants that diners, drive-ins, and dives goes to, actually some of them were like in huge trouble, and it turned them around, like completely made the place successful, and now they still exist because of this one appearance. I think that's really actually very rad.
Yeah, I do too.
that they
Like
do that.
if it does help that sort of thing, you know, you don't hear about any backlash of like, oh, you know, the Gordon Ramsay came here and basically made the restaurant just like another restaurant. It lost all of its charm and that sort of thing.
Sure,
But
sure.
yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at their website and their steaks look fantastic. But
Ooh, I'd go for that.
yeah,
I'm having a bison steak tonight.
Oh, bison. That's nice and lean.
Yeah, have jealousy, everyone. Have jealousy.
I do have jealousy.
We got a good
Although
deal.
I could have a steak tonight. We're going to trivia tonight, so and the place we're going does have, but not bison. Just
Not bison
regular
steaks.
steaks.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's something from a less endangered species probably is where you'll get.
Right. Yes. Probably a burger is what I'll have,
Yeah.
or what they call what is actually on the menu as their really good chopped salad, which is a
Ooh.
really good chopped
I
salad.
love chopped salad so much.
Yeah.
Just give me a big wedge of cold wet lettuce and cover it
Yeah.
in shit. I'm in.
Covered in bacon and chicken and avocado chunks and Swiss cheese cubes and stuff like that.
Man,
Yeah.
I'm so into it. After seeing what that guy did with Charity for Money, what is this?
Yeah, it's a TV Zegon talking about Guy Fieri.
Oh, Guy Fieri's fine. He's fine.
I am so on the totally on the Guy Fieri. He's a great dude. He just looks like every accessory in the truck catalog is basically the.
Yeah, no, I mean it's easy to look at the guy and go, whatever. But when the wildfires hit, that dude's out there cooking
He
and helping
is-
and donating,
exactly.
and there's nothing wrong with that guy. He's fine.
There's no that guy has no shortage of heart and puts it all into everything. So I'm
seems like he's got good kids. Like he's fine.
absolutely yes.
Stereotypes aside, you can make all the fun you want about Gangster
Listen,
Town or
if you want to
Flavor
look
Town.
like Smash Mouth, totally fine. Just keep doing all the good things you do for people in trouble.
Yeah, and all we ask for is don't put the sunglasses on backwards. That's all we're asking.
Yes.
Don't have
When
them
you're
back
inside
here.
a restaurant with the thing that keeps your glasses from falling, like from you losing your sunglasses if they were to fall off in a high wind.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's a good point. All right, the rest of this email. P.S. This is Taylor
Yes.
still speaking. Says,
Okay.
a truly special thank you to Brian for his dedication to raising awareness for MS. Recently, my father was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and it's been a rough thing to come to terms with. He's truly the best man a father can be. I admit I've never been one to think about fundraising events to spread awareness for disease research, but I greatly admire Brian doing what he does for his loved ones. He has inspired me to find some chode butter and search for similar events. So I'd love his first thing is to get
Nice.
some chode butter.
Chode butter, yeah. That's the step. I'm in a bicycle. What's the
Yeah.
first step? Chode butter.
Chode butter, always. Step 1, chode butter. Step 2, bike. Anyway, so I can do my part to help spread awareness for the continuing fight to cure these awful diseases. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, Brian. Well, that's really nice.
Oh, that's super cool. Yeah, good.
Worth
Well, thank
all
you,
the-
Taylor, and happy to do it.
Worth all the sweaty uphill business, all that stuff, all
For
worth it.
sure. And sadly, it's been just a little over a week. It's been like 9 days since my ride. I haven't gotten back on the bike, and I need to. You basically do this training thing every day.
Yeah.
Day after day after day, and I look at the bike and I'm like, oh, I need to get back on that bike. But there's all this other stuff that I put off while I was doing all my training that I need to get to. So
Yeah, no, those resin sculptures aren't going to print themselves. Okay,
oh, I wish it was something that fun. No,
it's mostly work.
I
I'm
have to
assuming.
record a training video for this client of mine who doesn't know how to add a product to their database.
Those poor sons of bitches.
Yeah, but I need to do that. I've got a seat that I need to swap out and then see how that does for long distance riding.
Nice. Bust out the chode butter and make it happen. Later today, Play Retro is happening with me and Brian Dunaway, 3:30 Mountain Time, the per usual time at frogpants.tv. If you want to watch it live or get the podcast after, we're talking about Pitfall. I don't know if you'd say it's I don't know if you call it like the original platformer, but it's, it deserves a place in historic memory in gaming. It also, probably helped Activision become what Activision would eventually become, although to mixed results. We'll talk about that some as well. But yeah, Play Retro today. Pitfall Harry, baby.
Was that game, am I remembering it correctly, that it was... it also was kind of a precursor to all these randomly generated dungeons where you didn't know what the next
screen
was going to be, if it was going to be a 3-alligator vine or if it was going to be rolling logs or anything like that. It was
very early in that regard. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because most games, it predetermined everything. This was like, hey, you don't know what you're going to get in the next screen. And
I love that. You couldn't memorize patterns or stuff like that. You basically had to,
And in some ways, my favorite game series of all time, Diablo 1, 2, and 3, and soon to be 4, thrives on it's never the same dungeon twice, no matter what you're doing. Even in single player, it's always mixed up and changed. And without those kinds of techs, I'd be less of a gamer. I'd love that stuff.
For sure.
It's emergent and new and replayable, and it's great. So, we'll talk about all that tonight. Play Retro wherever you get your podcasts. A reminder that we are supported by you. It's a brand new month over at patreon.com/TMS. We had a weird bunch of declines on a bunch of your cards for some reason, and we're still trying to figure out why. So today we'll do a fresh thing. But anyway, usually not an issue. Patreon.com/TMS. Head on over there and support the show. We got all kinds of new stuff coming out this month for those at various levels, and we're the cheapest show on earth. If you want to pay $1 a month, you can. That's how cheap we are. So go check it out. Patreon.com/TMS. For everything else, it's frogpants.com/TMS. That's it, Brian. Hey, let's play a song. You got a song? Let's play it.
I have a song. Let's play it. Keith wrote in and said, hey, school and board. As the school year comes to a close, my girlfriend and I want to request a cover for our great friend Buddy. Yes, his first name is really Buddy. He's a school teacher and has made it through another year of imparting wisdom to our future leaders. Can I prevail on the cover master to choose a cover of any Olivia Newton-John song on an open day you need to fill? If that's not possible, then any song with a science theme, as this is what he teaches. With any luck, this will alleviate some of the pain of the dreaded and yet inevitable, "Hi, Mr. Smith, do you remember me?" from his former students when all out and about. No, his last name isn't Smith. I'm just trying not to totally embarrass him. It's rather hilarious as to the age range of the person saying this because he's been doing the teaching thing for a few years. Like, he is going to retire soon length of service. He never sees it coming, and I've been witness to this happening from waitresses, bartenders, and clerks. I keep waiting for the exotic dancer story, but alas, I don't think that one is going to happen. Thanks ever so much for doing this, you gods of the morning stream. Have a great summer of fun, Buddy, from Keith and his cupcake. Long story. Well, apparently Buddy loves Olivia Newton-John, and I can't blame him. I made my dad drag me to see Grease over and over and over, and it wasn't the music, it wasn't the high school hijinks, it wasn't Travolta. It was getting to see Olivia Newton-John as, the moral of that story is, if the guy you like keeps forgetting you and disregards you and dumps you, change yourself to be more of the guy or more of the woman that he wants. It's a lesson that we can all learn. Anyway, let's get to this cover right here. It's a cover of Olivia Newton-John's, one of her first earliest singles, Have You Never Been Mellow, grammatically incorrectly titled, performed here by the Trailer Park Troubadours from their album, Way Cool World.
Oh, I love the name of that. That's great. Here it is. Thank you all for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow with a fresh, hot Wednesday. Oh my gosh, it's already Wednesday again? What the hell?
It's already Wednesday, yeah.
That's effed up. Anyways.
We'll see who joins us tomorrow.
My guess is nobody. It's me and you, because Randy.
I think it's just going to be the two of us for recommendals.
Yeah, we may.
Nicole's a maybe, but Randy is a definite no.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be rough. But if not, we may ask Dunaway. I don't know. He may be willing.
Oh, right. He said he'd be up for it. Oh, we should totally get Dunaway.
Yeah.
We'll basically get him. We'll bookend the show with him. We'll get him for a feud, and then we'll end the show with recommendals.
Yeah, we'll see what that guy likes. I mean, we assume he can do this. We don't know. He's got work, so I don't know. But we'll find out.
Recommend something. He's got a Blu-ray edition of his
he probably does. In his pants. He has it everywhere. It's all over the place.
Yes.
All right. That's it, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Frog Pants Network. Get more shows like this at frogpants.com.
Remove all metal objects from your person.